our ad on the local news page of DeWittDailyNews.com.
Graduation signifies one chapter completed, but it's far from the final page of the book that is your life. The world you're about to enter demands adaptability, creativity, and lifelong learning. With your diploma, you've proven you're ready to face challenges and shape the future. Today, we congratulate you, the members of the class of 2025, and we wish you all the best in the years ahead.
This message brought to you by State Bank of Bement, located at 180 East Bowman in Bement. Good luck to all the 2025 graduates. We're cheering for you.
You're from New Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the Zoom today is Reagan Tibbs. He is commercial ag educator at the University of Illinois Extension in Logan, Menard, and Sangamon counties. Good to see you again, Reagan. How are you?
Good, Seth. Good to see you as well. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for making time for us. Busy time for you. Planting season is upon us. What does planting season bring? Any additional conversation? Anything new for you? What is this time of year like in extension for an ag educator?
Yeah, certainly. This is a time of year where we're working with those folks out in the field, seeing what conditions they're experiencing, obviously keeping an eye on the weather, seeing how that's impacting our growth. But right now, the weather's been cooperating the last few days, which we're really appreciative of, and it looks like it's going to keep cooperating over the next coming days. So hopefully that'll help those farmers get in the field and get those seeds in the ground so we can have a pretty good start to our planting and our growing season this upcoming year.
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you what, let's save maybe some of that conversation for later in the program, but I want to highlight a new program that you are introducing. In fact, starting this from scratch, it sounds like. Tell me what's going on. What are you introducing through Extension, Reagan?
Yeah, absolutely. So yesterday we announced that I'll be offering a Farm Business Foundations program this upcoming June. So this is a program that's designed for anybody who's going to be starting a new farming operation, who might be taking over the family farming operation, or anybody who just wants to relearn those farm business management skills. This is going to be over 3 days this upcoming June, and there's going to be 3 different sessions. So the first session is going to be kind of, what is farm business management? Why is it important? Why do we need to have, business goals and different types of business structures? The second session will focus on, financial management. So things, like how to get a loan, what are the different types of loans that are available. It'll also talk about record keeping and some marketing strategies. And the final session, session 3, will focus on risk management and succession planning. These are all topics that are really important for anybody who's involved in agribusiness and running a farm operation. So it's important that we offer these resources and offer these educational opportunities to those producers.
What did this stem from, Reagan? How did you get started on this endeavor?
Yeah, so that it started with conversations I've had with people here across our 3 counties. One of the things that they said is, Extension does a really good job in assisting, with the production side of things. When it comes to the farm business management part of it, they really wish they had more opportunities. And so, coming from my background, having a family farm, having these discussions are important, and having those skills are important. And so I figured the best way that we could do that is offering this type of program and allowing people to come in and learn these different topics. So that way we can cultivate that success and have, very successful farms moving forward for the future.
So putting this together, did you have to do any surveying of whether producers in your 3 counties, maybe a statewide survey? How did you land on these topics and come to find out what's important to producers and people entering, these family farms that you're talking about here? Speak to that a little more and how you came up with some of these topics.
Yeah, so again, it goes back to conversations I've had with producers across our 3 counties. I'm very fortunate to have, very supportive farm bureaus and very supportive, producers across Logan, Menard, and Sangamon counties, and having those discussions with them about, what did they learn? Maybe if some of them went to college, what did they learn in their farm business management class when they were at college? And what are some skills that they, would like to touch up on, or skills that they may not remember or, didn't learn during that type of course? Obviously, we have people that are going to college and learning those types of things, but I want this to be a very practical, hands-on experience, so that way they can take those skills directly back to their farming operations and help be successful for the future. So again, it all boils down to those conversations with people out in the field. I could sit here in my office and come up with these things out of thin air, but really what's most important is having those conversations and getting out there and talking with our producers.
Was there one thing that came up in that conversation or those conversations more than another? A theme maybe you saw across the board in those talks?
I think one of the things that everyone's kind of talking about in the ag space right now is succession planning. That's a really important conversation to have. But I think more broadly, our farming population is getting older. The average age of the American farmer is still increasing. We haven't seen it slow down any. And so having those conversations and those resources to prepare the next generation of farm operators to be successful and to have those resources, I think was kind of the biggest theme that I saw throughout those conversations.
Well, again, Reagan, tell us kind of when these get started. Is there registration required? Can it be in person, virtual? Just again, kind of give us the rundown of this.
Yeah, so these are going to be 3 in-person sessions. There's the first session will be on June 10th, the second session June 17th, and the third session on June 24th. They're all going to be in the Springfield area. We haven't finalized any locations yet. We're still working on that. The cost is going to be $10 per session, and anybody, you can register for just one session, all 3 sessions. It doesn't matter, whichever session topic is important to you. And there'll be some light refreshments there. We're not going to do a full meal, but we'll definitely have, maybe some light sandwiches, veggie and fruit, platter, something of that line. Registration is going to close on June 3rd, so that way we can have enough time to ensure we have the necessary space available and see how many people are coming. And then registration is live right now, and the website is go.illinois.edu/2025 Farm Business Foundations.
Now, are you primary presenter on these? Are you bringing in some of your peers in Extension to speak? What's the situation there?
So we're going to be working with a lot of different partners across our areas. The Sangamon County and Menard County Farm Bureaus are going to be main partners on this and helping drive with some marketing, getting some resources. I'm also working with Farm Credit. They're in Sherman, Illinois, to have some of their resources, have some of their knowledge, especially when it comes to some of the financial stuff with loans. That's not something I have direct knowledge on. Mm-hmm. And so if we can utilize those resources and their expertise on this, I think that's something that we're really excited for. So you'll see me at all 3 of the sessions, and I'll have something to talk about all 3 of the sessions, but it certainly won't just be me presenting for an hour and a half at each one.
Will people in attendance be able to ask questions of yourself, presenters? Will there be kind of a Q&A time?
Absolutely. One of the things that I'm very big on is hands-on learning. And so throughout each of these sessions, I want to have some type of activity and some type of thing that the attendees can do themselves. I can have them sit there for an hour and a half in a presentation and, there being a little engagement, but I want them to actually see things and actually do things that they can then remember those and take those back to their operations. So this will absolutely be an interactive session. We're definitely going to make sure we have time for audience participation.
Sounds great. Reagan, any other programs, whether it's yourself or within Extension, that are coming up you want to talk about at all?
Yeah, I know our 4-H team here in Logan, Menard, and Sangamon counties have just recently put out their schedule for their summer programs. There's a lot of exciting ones across our 3 counties. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what some of the topics are, but they'll be starting up this summer, and they're really looking forward to having a lot of participation and bringing some of those educational opportunities to youth across our 3 counties.
Gotcha. Very good. So look forward to all that. Do you get much involved in the 4-H side of things, or is that kind of too young of a demographic for you, I guess?
Well, as a former Logan County 4-H member, one of my goals when I started this position was interacting with 4-H as much as possible. And this year I'll be helping out with one of the programs in early June, and then also helping out at the fairs as need be. So I definitely try to be involved with our 4-H team as much as possible, and just whatever resources I can provide, whatever help that I can provide to them.
Gotcha. Very good. Well, Reagan, I look at the clock. We're just a pinch ahead of a break for the morning, but let's take it now because we're going to talk planting, root cutworm coming up, and a few other things as it relates to the planting season. One more time, though, if you don't mind, the when, the where, and how folks get registered for your new program you're introducing in June. How about that?
Yeah, so the Farm Business Foundations program, the registration is go.illinois.edu/2025 Farm Business Foundations. Those sessions will be June 10th, June 17th, and June 24th all in the Springfield area.
Sounds good. So look forward to that. Get more information on it. Reagan, let's break here. Come back with some more. Reagan Tibbs with the University of Illinois Extension in Logan, Menard, Sangamon counties. My guest on the Zoom. More to come with Reagan on the morning show.
WHOW.
FB.org. Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn slightly higher, beans higher, wheat trading steady. July corn up a penny, 456.5. September corn up 1 3/4, 432. December new crop 443 1/4, up 2 pennies. July beans up 8, 1049 1/4. August beans up 9 3/4, 1045 1/2. November new crop 1031 1/2, up 12 1/4. July wheat down 1/4, 535 1/2. September wheat unchanged, 550. July bean meal up 280, 295.80. July bean oil up 35 cents, 48.70. Livestock market, May feeders 294.90, down 80 cents. June live cattle down 17 cents, 213.50. May lean hogs 91.40, down 15 cents. Energy market, June crude oil down a dime, 58.99. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
Hear Clinton Maroon live play-by-play this season on WHOW, the Big 1520 daytime, 92.3 FM in DeWitt County and 106.5 in Bloomington Normal all the time. Plus, streamed at DeWittDailyNews.com on the WHOW mobile app and Amazon Alexa. Plus, hear a best of Clinton sports broadcast Saturday mornings at 10. All brought to you by Keith Wade, your country financial representative, Studio 505, and our exclusive sponsor for our player of the game, Surf Pro of Piatt DeWitt Counties, the leader in fire, water, and mold restoration.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in the Zoom today is Reagan Tibbs with the University of Illinois Extension in Logan, Menard, and Sangamon counties. And Reagan, we mentioned the planting season is rolling right along in Central Illinois. Feels like every day you see somebody out in the fields. If the weather's good, they're taking advantage of these stretches we've got to get that crop in the ground. And I know one thing that you're talking about and highlighting with folks you talk to is black cutworm. Let's talk black cutworm. First of all, for novices like myself in the world of ag, what is black cutworm?
Yeah, black cutworm is a pest that, we may not physically see. It may not be a very large pest, but it can have some pretty significant damage in our fields. And right now, this is the type of year where we're really starting to see its presence, especially in the moth stage. And then we'll start to see here in the coming days, I imagine, start to see more damage from the larvae as they start to impact our corn plants. So definitely one of the pests that we try to keep a close eye on as our corn starts emerging as we get into the growing season.
Sure. When it comes to black cutworm, is this something that you treat as you're maybe after planting, or like when would a producer treat for black cutworm?
Yeah, so this is something that can be very proactive on. There are some cultural methods. Black cutworm larvae tend to do really well in fields that are late planted and fields that have a lot of early season weed coverage. So trying to keep an eye on those. Obviously, the late planting ones sometimes are just outside of our control, right? The weather gets to us, other factors impact that. But with early season weed control, if we can eliminate those weeds and eliminate that feed source of the larvae in time, that can reduce their ability to thrive and have that feeding source, and then reduce their ability to impact our cornfields. So there's those type of options. There are also some chemical options. The most effective one that I've read about is, foliar insecticides. Those tend to be the most effective. There can be some BT treatments that we can apply for corn that are effective, but those can be hit or miss at times. So definitely, those early, those pre-planting preparations of our fields, and those post-planting foliar insecticides are really beneficial when it comes to dealing with black cutworm.
It sounds like one of those pests, Reagan, where once you once you catch it, it may be too late because you talked about not being able to see it very well and all of that. Is that a fair assessment of how it works?
It can be, yeah. Generally, black cutworm is a really interesting pest. Sometimes you'll see pests as they go out and scout. Black cutworm is not one of those that makes itself overly present. They tend to, during the day, they'll actually burrow themselves down into the ground and hide, and then they'll do their feeding at night. And so you might go out there one day and all your corn plants are fine. You go out you wait and go out, maybe a couple days later, you might start seeing some of these plants that have been cut, and you're not sure where it came from. There are other insects and other pests that can cause similar type of damage, but black cutworm is the one that we are starting to see more and more here. There have been a lot of sightings of moths around Central Illinois, especially in DeWitt County, Macon County, Christian County, McLean County, Menard County. A lot of the counties here, kind of in the core, I call the core, corn production area of this state, are starting to see the adult moths. And while seeing moths is not a sign that there's going to be a significant cutting, if we see moths, we know there are going to be larvae about.
Okay. Now with black cutworm, what do the signs of that look like? I mean, is the stalk just completely down? What does it look like, I guess?
So the most common sign of damage from black cutworm is the plant is actually cut right at the surface level. It look like someone just went along and cut it with a pair of scissors. That's their most common, type of injury that we'll see to the plants. Sometimes, though, black cutworm, especially if they are older or if the plant is a little bit taller, will actually do their damage beneath the soil surface. So when they're down there, they actually feed on the root structure and parts of the plant that are below the soil, which may not cause the plant to be cut like they do when they're above ground, but can cause the plant to wilt because when you cut into the root, that'll impact the plant's ability to uptake water and nutrients. And so those are the two most common types of damage that we see from black cutworm. Sometimes there's been cases where it will actually start to drag the plant that it cut down beneath the soil surface with it so it can feed it at night. But that's not super common in this area.
Well, and you mentioned to me before we got started, it sounds like it can really be kind of isolated. So like one part of your field may have it, but that doesn't necessarily mean the entire field is going to experience it.
Yeah, there are cases where there could be black cutworm across the entire field, but more commonly we'll see just one particular area of black cut, one particular part of the field that's affected by black cutworm. And in that instance, it's actually pretty easy to just do a spot application of, if you're going to do a foliar insecticide, just doing it in that particular area of the field. You can certainly go ahead and do it across the field, but if that one particular area of it is impacted, that's the one that we really want to be concerned about. The economic threshold for black cutworm is if 3% of the plants within that field are cut and if larvae are still present. That's the threshold that we recommend with the University of Illinois, and that's the threshold that is pretty common and standard across much of the Midwest.
Gotcha. Very good. And of course, that speaks to the importance of scouting, and getting out in the field and just looking around.
Yeah, absolutely. You're never gonna fully know what's going on if you don't actually go out there in the field and walk. And black cutworm is one of those things you got to actually dig down and find the larvae itself. And that's not just for black cutworm; it's for any other type of insect, any other type of pest, whether it's an insect or even a weed. We got to walk out into our fields and see what's going on, so that way we can determine if those pests, if those pressures on our crops are meeting the economic threshold, and if treatment is needed. That's one of the most important things with scouting, and doing it regularly as well, especially in these early stages where the plant is just getting started and needs all the support it can get. Scouting is really, really important.
Is there an area of a field where you would see black cutworm more prominently than another, like maybe a corner, maybe along the edge of the field, in the middle of the field itself? Where would you most commonly find black cutworm?
Like I said earlier, black cutworm really feeds in areas where there are a lot of weeds. And so if you have a particular part of your field that was heavily weedy, so let's say you had a weed infestation there in prior years, or there was a lot of even crop residue in a particular area from last year's harvest, that could be an area where black cutworm can really harvest, really, really thrive. And even, grasses could be a really, really beneficial host for black cutworm. And so if there's an area where there are a lot of, grasses and cool season grasses, especially, that could also be an area where we see black cutworm become really prevalent. So, just to say, again, those areas where we have maybe some cool season grasses or really thick grass, and also a lot of weed and weed pressure from the previous year.
Sounds good. Reagan, where do folks go for this and more on all things University of Illinois Extension?
Yeah, they can go to our Facebook page. We have one with University of Illinois here in Logan, Menard, and Sangamon counties. But they can also go to our website at, I believe it's go.illinois.edu/extension, I believe is our website.
That's Reagan Tibbs, University of Illinois Extension, our guest on the Zoom today. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance.
WHOW.